I'm here to talk about public-private partnerships for early childhood, why the public and the private sectors need to work together to support young children so that when they get to school, they're ready to be successful.
How has that worked in North Carolina?
It's worked well. 20 years ago, we put in place a program called Smart Start, and now, 20 years later, we've improved all our indicators for children's well-being and education, including we have 80% of our children now graduating from high school.
My name is Murphy Bell. I'm the chairman of the board of the Academic Distinction Fund, and on behalf of the board, as well as all the staff of the Academic Distinction Fund, I'd like to welcome you to our final Distinguished Speaker Series of the 2012 year. It's been a great year. We've had a great turnout. Many of you have been to several of our events, and of course we'd like to thank you for that.
And I'm Ken Miller, the engineering manager for the ExxonMobil facilities here in Baton Rouge. And I also have the great privilege of working very closely with our education outreach efforts, and in particular a group called the ExxonMobil Ambassadors Committed to Education. For more than 20 years, this group of volunteers, very dedicated volunteers, has been working in classrooms in North Baton Rouge, showing kids that science and math can be a lot of fun. Our company is very involved in education outreach, and today's early childhood lecture is something we're very proud to support.
How does that work, focusing on student achievement 0 to 5 years of age?
Yeah, well, it's challenging, as you can imagine, and we depend on communities to put the right services in place, but we drive the outcomes from the state level. So it's a combination of good accountability, good outcomes-based work, using research-based programs, and making sure that we find the children in the communities who need these services most.
How widespread is your program in North Carolina?
It's in all 100 counties. You know, we're a county-based state, and so every county has a partnership that works on the same general outcomes, although the strategies locally for getting the solutions may be different.
What kind of results have you seen in addition to the higher graduation rates?
Well, for example, we've had 30 research studies that show that when our children get to school, they have better language skills, better math skills, and fewer behavioral problems compared to all children. So we know that the strategies are working, and we just have to make sure we keep the funding to keep the program going.
The biggest thing that stands out in my mind is collaboration, expectations, and shared governance. You know, it's going to take all those things for people to get involved in the process. You know, a lot of times when we do different initiatives or programs, it's always sometimes like a top-down approach. And I think with the new act that's coming in, I think it's more of a collaborative process where the expectations are there, and it's when shared come and go. It will get the people more involved, because it's one thing about if you're motivated about something, nobody will have to tell you to do it. You're going to wake up doing it. You're going to go to bed doing it. And so I think you got equal partners really want to change the landscape of how Louisiana looks. And I think the cheapest and the most effective way is through early childhood education.
I think this was a great panel discussion. I think Karen Ponder provided us with lots of insight and success stories from North Carolina, and we have the resources and the people here that can replicate a lot of that in Louisiana. I think she talked about the key elements of a good public and private partnership. Those are leadership and collaboration, and really working to create a unique partnership that benefits both the private entity and the public entity.
The keynote speaker, Ms. Ponder, was very inspirational. She has 20 years experience in North Carolina creating and implementing a plan to foster equity, equal access, high quality early child care, learning and development. And of course, as the necessary precursor to entering kindergarten, as I said, only 54% of Louisiana kindergarten students are ready when they enter kindergarten. We have a little bit of work ahead of us, and with the passage of this recent legislation, we have a framework and we have some goals, and we have all the right parties at the table. And so drawing on the expertise of people like the panelists today and Ms. Ponder especially, we're going to get it done.
I'm excited about this opportunity for us to come together regarding public and private partnerships as it pertains to early childhood education. That's where the rubber meets the road. We need to have a paradigm shift here in the state of Louisiana. We need to change our way of thinking. There's an attitude that permeates this community in this state that says if it doesn't affect me, it's not my problem. And I beg to differ. Early childhood education is something that we all should be concerned about. When we look at the high crime rates that we're currently experiencing, Louisiana having the highest incarceration rate in the world, it can all be attributed to the lack of early childhood education and early childhood interventions. So by the folks in this community coming together today, I hope we're sending out a message that we're serious about early childhood education. That's where the rubber meets the road. Let's get together. Let's pool our resources, whether it be capital or human, and make a difference for our kids.
Get involved, and then really making a core investment with the community, because regardless of our occupation, we fit in that somewhere in that spectrum of either if it's education, if it's government, or if it's the private sector or the community. We fit in one of those categories about getting more involved in the process. For instance, if you don't fit but you're a member of a church, that would fit more in the organization and the community standpoint, or you with a corporation like an ExxonMobil or a Dow Chemical. Your job and your occupation can fit in that piece about getting more involved, but as a community as a whole and a community as one.
I think people in Baton Rouge need to really look at what common goals that we all have. And I think education is certainly a common goal. I think we all want to improve our education system, and we need the leadership, whether it comes from the public or the private sector, to be able to do that together.
I think that they can be proud of our current rating system, which Ms. Ponder said was one of the 2 examples she uses nationally as a way to rate high quality schools. I think we also learned how important it is and critical in so many different social factors. When you aren't ready to begin kindergarten, you start behind, and you, in some cases, continue to fall behind, and then you become, unfortunately, in many cases, again, unable to catch up. And generally, these are the citizens that are not able to get high quality jobs with benefits and who require social services, and we have our work to, again, create equity across the board. What I really liked was the stress here on reaching every child and not differentiating between children who might be on a subsidized kind of learning program, subsidized through taxes, but just making every child have high quality learning environments available without any kind of differentiation.
What would be your recommendation for Baton Rouge?
Well, you have a good plan on the table, a framework for really changing the outcomes for young children, particularly focused on 4-year-olds. And so I say you get that plan right, and then you have to find the funding to support it long term.